Cristiano Ronaldo has spent 2 decades turning doubt into fuel and rewriting the limits of what footballers are supposed to be capable of. And now, as the world looks ahead to the 2026 World Cup, the biggest question is no longer whether he was one of the greatest to ever play the game, but whether he can still do the one thing that has always escaped him, which is lifting the World Cup trophy and completing the most decorated individual career football has ever seen. Because when you strip away the emotions, the memes, the age jokes, and the endless online debates, what you are really asking is whether a player who will be in his early 40s by the summer of 2026 can still influence the biggest tournament on earth in a way that leads a nation to glory. And to answer that, you have to understand who Ronaldo is, what he has already done, how international football actually works, and why the idea of his final World Cup being both an illusion and a possibility at the same time is not as crazy as it sounds. Because Ronaldo is not operating under normal rules of time, decline, or expectation. He never has. And that is why this conversation refuses to die every time people think it is over. He finds another way to extend the story, another way to remain relevant, another way to score goals in moments where logic says he should no longer be there. And the 2026 World Cup represents the ultimate ending, either the final chapter of a career defined by defiance or the moment where reality finally catches up. And that tension is exactly why the world is obsessed with this question, because Ronaldo has already proven that he does not age like other players, he does not train like other players, and he does not think like other players. He has built his entire identity around preparation, obsession, and self-belief to a level that most professionals never reach. And that obsession has allowed him to stretch his prime far beyond what history tells us is normal. From Manchester United to Real Madrid, he has consistently adapted his game, shedding speed for positioning, trading dribbling for movement, and replacing explosiveness with intelligence and timing. And that evolution matters more than age when it comes to tournament football, because World Cups are not won by constant high-tempo pressing machines alone. They are won by moments, by decisions, by composure inside the box, by leadership in pressure situations, and by players who know exactly how to survive 7 games when the entire planet is watching. And in that sense, Ronaldo might actually be more suited to a World Cup at 40 than he was at 24, because back then he was learning how to win. Now he is built entirely out of winning experience. And international football has always been a different challenge from club football, because you cannot buy chemistry, you cannot train tactical systems for years, and you cannot rely on weekly rhythm. Instead, you need leaders who can instantly impose belief, and Ronaldo has always done that for Portugal, especially since his early years of disappointment, when expectations crushed him before he learned how to carry them. And the proof that age alone does not disqualify him from World Cup success can already be seen in recent tournaments, because even when critics claimed he was finished, he remained decisive, whether it was crucial goals in qualifiers or moments where his presence changed how opponents defended Portugal. Portugal do not just play with Ronaldo, they play around him. Opponents still plan for him, defenders still track him, midfielders still drop deeper, and that gravity creates space for others. And that matters in tournaments, where one moment of space can decide an entire nation's fate. But of course, belief alone does not win World Cups, and this is where the illusion argument begins. Because football history is ruthless when it comes to age. No outfield player has ever won a World Cup as the central attacking figure in their 40s. The physical demands, the recovery time, the intensity of knockout matches played every few days, and the cumulative fatigue are real and unavoidable. And while Ronaldo's professionalism is unmatched, the biological clock does not care about legacy or mindset. And there is also the question of Portugal themselves, because World Cups are not won by one man, no matter how iconic, and Portugal's golden generation narrative has followed Ronaldo for years, sometimes fairly, sometimes unfairly, because for a long time he carried teams that were simply not balanced enough to win at the highest level. But 2026 presents a different Portugal, one filled with technically gifted midfielders, dynamic fullbacks, creative attackers, and tactical flexibility. And that is the biggest reason why this question question refuses to be dismissed, because for the first time in Ronaldo's international career, the team might actually be better equipped to support him rather than rely entirely on him. And that changes everything, because if Ronaldo does not need to play every minute, press every defender, or carry the creative burden, he can focus on what he has always done better than almost anyone in history, which is arriving at the right place at the right time under maximum pressure and finishing chances that decide legacies. And when you imagine a Portugal side that can control games, dominate possession, and create consistent opportunities, the idea of Ronaldo as a decisive tournament player becomes far more realistic, because he would not need to be the engine, only the executioner. And that role has no age limit if the body can still respond. And yet, the illusion argument grows stronger when you consider the pace of modern international football, because younger teams press aggressively, transition faster, and exploit physical mismatches ruthlessly, and a single weak link can be targeted over 90 minutes, and knockout stages are unforgiving. And this is where tactical decisions become crucial, because if Portugal build their system around protecting Ronaldo's energy, maximizing his impact in key moments, and rotating intelligently through the group stages, then his presence becomes an advantage. But if they attempt to recreate past structures that ask him to do too much, then the illusion collapses under reality. And that is why the conversation around 2026 is not really about whether Ronaldo can still score goals, because he clearly can. It's about whether the environment around him will allow those goals to matter, and whether the coaching decisions will be brave enough to evolve with him rather than cling to nostalgia. Because nostalgia is the real enemy of aging legends, not time itself. And Ronaldo's career has survived because he has never been sentimental about his own game. He has changed when change was necessary, and if he continues to accept a role that maximizes efficiency over ego, then his World Cup dream remains alive. And you also can't ignore the expanded format of the 2026 World Cup, because more teams, more matches, and different tournament rhythms change everything. And while critics argue that more games mean more fatigue, it also means greater squad rotation and more opportunities for experienced players to peak at the right moment rather than carry the load from day one. And Ronaldo has always been a player who peaks when stakes are highest, and that psychological edge cannot be taught or trained, because it is built from Champions League finals, last-minute winners, and decades of hostile stadiums and pressure situations. And in that sense, Ronaldo might actually be more suited to a World Cup at 40 than he was at 24, because back then he was learning how to win. Now he is built entirely out of winning experience. And history shows us that World Cups are often won by teams that combine youth with one defining veteran presence,